Okay. Hi, hi team.
Hey, how's it going? Jungwo? Sorry.
Good. Thank you very much for accepting this interview. It's very informal interview, and I appreciate you attending it. I just searched for Rhino.Inside or some Grasshopper tips and tricks over YouTube, and accidentally found your channel called Seven Digital Technology, and I was very
Yeah,
impressed.
sevenfold design technology. Yep.
Sorry, sevenfold design technology. I was very impressed about like deep knowledge about both sides of Revit and Rhino and Grasshopper. So I have to make a decision. Oh, I have to invite him because even though I don't know him, because mostly I invite just colleagues, ex-colleagues or experts who I know, but I have to invite you. That's why I invited you. And
Honestly, I'm honored to be here, and it's such an exciting opportunity with what you're doing for the community, and it's fun times to be in architecture and technology. So happy to be here.
okay, so could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone. My name's Tim Halvorson. I'm an trained architect from Minnesota, I guess, in the United States, and then I'm living out here in California. I was with HDR for 4 years in San Francisco, and now I'm full time at Gensler as a design technology manager. And then in my spare time, I do content creation, just trying to help out the next generation. Super passionate about education. It's kind of my form of adjunct professor, just pouring back into the global community. And yeah, I have a background like doing a lot of like drone footage and photography. Used to be graphic design before I
Wow.
got into architecture school,
Hmm.
and just have a wide range of interests for creative work.
Wow. So you have different variety of experience in design field as well as
Yep.
photography, and you finish your academic background as architecture.
Yeah. So I have a master's of architecture from North Dakota State. Shout out Bison. But yeah, my personal interests are pretty diverse. I've done a lot of self-taught things like I mentioned. So
That's
yeah.
cool. That's I think it's really good to know the background. And I know you have YouTube channel Sevenfold Design Technology as well as your own the homepage for that. What is this channel and your homepage about? Is it academic teaching or tutoring service,
Sure.
or is it more like consulting service for BIM, or what? Could you explain to us?
Uh, so the first goal is to provide knowledge products for people. So it's starting out with YouTube for free content, but I'm building out a whole bunch of courses and things in the back end. Basically, it's the stuff I wish I would have learned in school, but also seeing the huge need in the industry for kind of focusing the knowledge that's coming out. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed
Mhm.
with all the technology going on. So I'm trying to, from like a practitioner standpoint, simplify the learning curve for people in a way that allows you to focus on what matters
Mhm.
and gets you the outcomes and sort of the studies that we do in everyday architectural practice. I think things can get a little tangential doing academic work,
Mhm.
and it's not directly applicable, or you spend time learning different programs that don't necessarily make a big impact in actual practice. So yeah, basically just looking to cover architecture, design technology as a whole, starting with the core and working my way outwards. So
Mhm.
Revit, Rhino, Grasshopper, Bluebeam,
Mhm.
Adobe products, things like that. So I just recently released a video
Mhm.
that is focusing on the ones I use, and I'm starting there. But
Mhm.
honestly, I have a wide range of experiences and would be open to receiving feedback. So
Okay, that's really good because you can guide it in very professional way with because it is it's too many technology. It's like when you're out of
exactly.
school, when you look at what should I run, and it's like overwhelming. And
And
I
people just say, learn it all. And you're like, do you know what you're asking? And people don't know what they're asking. And that's really, that's part of the value. So honestly, that's kind of where, I'm not really accepting clients at the moment, but for consulting services. But, if you want to drop some interest out there, I will evaluate it and consider.
Mhm.
But for now, it's pretty much just kind of sending signals out, and feel free to
Mhm.
comment and let me know what you want to learn next.
Yeah.
So.
So guys, whoever look at our interview now today, please check it out, his channel or website, because I was looking at some of the tutorial from him, from Tim. It's phenomenal. You can see really deep knowledge and use of Grasshopper and Revit in, a lot of people just showing basic stuff, but he's really digging the point where we need it, not just draw wall, but managing
Yeah.
the,
My
uh, you know,
Yeah,
yes.
and my goal is really to save you as much time as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to be spending time on my YouTube channel. My hope is that you graduate from what's learned there and then you can be back into practice doing great work. So I'm really trying to like compress it to be as useful as possible.
That's really good, big contribution. So it's now maybe could be easy question or difficult question. I don't know. What is your favorite software and why?
Yeah, because you saw the recent video.
Yeah.
I still would go with Grasshopper. Honestly, I love Revit, love Rhino, and there's so many good ones coming out there, like
Mm-hmm.
Hypar, SpaceMaker. Like, there's all these exciting tools,
Mm-hmm.
but I still just kind of have a love for Grasshopper because you have so much control and flexibility
Mm-hmm.
around custom applications. But the bread and butter is going to be in Revit, and I love how you can make everything parametric,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so much power in that. But in terms of just kind of the elegance of solutions, I mean, I would even do like 2D graphics that
Mm-hmm.
I'll generate in Grasshopper first, and then I'll simplify to Illustrator
Mm-hmm.
for print. But it looks 3D because it was 3D at one point. So there's just so much flexibility.
Mm.
I just love
Yeah, this
Grasshopper for.
interpolation between different platforms through the Grasshopper and Rhino.
That's even better. Yeah. I mean, that's why I was excited about Rhino.Inside, and I've been exploring that a lot, is because people, there is still a huge place for Dynamo.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see the value of my preferred data management solution is the Grasshopper
Mm-hmm.
style.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can do everything in one platform, I'm going to do that.
Yep.
So I was pushing some similar workflows in Dynamo that people typically do in Grasshopper using Rhino.Inside recently. And so I'm going to continue to explore that,
Mm-hmm.
but I love it. So
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite software also, I would say Grasshopper and Rhino, to be honest. It's just
it's
so
a huge learning. I mean, Grasshopper is a big learning curve. I learned it at the same time as Rhino, and I think people don't realize like you can pretty much do anything in Grasshopper parametrically
Mm-hmm.
that you can model manually in Rhino, and that's why I
I
love
agree.
it. Because so I think I'm always thinking like, how much should I use?
Mm-hmm.
Which side of the
Mm-hmm.
coin?
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about parametric tools, or let's say computational design or something like
Yep,
that.
that's
I,
fine. Yep.
I believe that parametric design tool or technology is very useful in everyday practice, but sometimes when you show like some graph visual programming to colleagues, they're already running away, like, oh, this is not for me, you know.
Yeah,
So it's
spaghetti, run away.
it's very difficult to share like your script with colleagues in general. I mean,
Hmm.
maybe let's say 1 out of 20 of our colleagues start to be a little bit interested in this kind of workflow.
Sure.
How is it in reality when you show your colleagues, or I don't know, whenever whoever in university time, friends, that there's such a things, and what their response like? Is it useful?
Yeah, it's a common sentiment around the industry, and rightfully so. I think we're architects first, which is more on the artists and craftsmanship. And I think when people see that, they start thinking, oh, I'm like not an engineer, or I'm not, all these other things. And I think it's sort of like you have to start to see what you're getting out of it. So it's not, you have to kind of see through the wires and see the outputs. And so as I've gotten more matured in doing computational work, it's helpful to see the inputs and outputs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
um, if I'm helping somebody, I can help craft a part of that script that gets them what they want to use, and then they can start to manipulate that, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe their curiosity will be sparked
Mm-hmm.
so that they can build their own.
Mm-hmm.
But to assume everyone needs to learn it is actually false.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to. You can give tools to other people, but you need to be a designer to understand what a
Mm-hmm.
designer wants.
Mm-hmm.
So there's space for both. I think to throw it out completely is a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But to understand what's possible, that's the hard part. I think you need to understand the potential
Mm-hmm.
of what's going on. And so that's why I like learning Grasshopper and Rhino simultaneously, because you can sort of pick how you want to drive your algorithm
Mm-hmm.
and then expand it in any creative direction you want. So it really blends the best of artistic
Mm-hmm.
and kind of engineering work. And the automation is what saves you the time. So you don't have to sit there and, you know, like I just think of using SketchUp where I used to have 4 or 5 different component types and I have to go in and push, double click, push, pull, and like kind of sculpt everything. And then you look back at the whole and you can still see the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny now because I can look at something and tell
Mm-hmm.
if it was a SketchUp building or, and again, love SketchUp. It has its place, but like for the next level of design, you really can't achieve what you can achieve in Grasshopper. So
You're right.
I don't know if that answers your question, but that's just kind of how I think about it.
Yeah.
So
So
inputs and outputs.
it says without saying that it's definitely useful for BIM workflow also, this parametric design solution for sure.
Yep.
What is your perspective on BIM and in our industry?
Yeah. BIM, I mean, it's not synonymous with Revit, even though Revit's my favorite software. I not favorite software. It's favorite authoring tool for BIM. I think we've been seeing proposals come down the pike that are asking for higher levels of BIM quality, and the clients are getting more sophisticated. So the demand is rising for digital twin, fully integrated, fully coordinated BIM models, so that the client can take it after the design process, build it, and then facilitate that. And that's going to continue to be the trend. So if we can use ways like Dynamo to automate how fast we're getting that coordinated for us, and we can trust that we can hand it to our build partners, the demand is not going away. It used to be just for snappy lines in AutoCAD, but now it's it's really a database, and I think it's kind of stating the obvious of the value proposition of BIM. But I think the biggest thing people don't realize is like it's not just to put drawings together anymore. Like drawing is a legal term we're using to capture the intent of the project, but that drawing will be represented in a 3D model in the future. And we're just trying to tighten down the legal framework so that we can distribute that to all the people that need to sign off. But really, it's not just pen and paper anymore.
No, it's not. It's also this whole change management, just like our business. When you look at blockchain management, and everyone is sort of observing what's been changed and who is changing. So this sort of culture is definitely in current time in our industry also. And I think BIM, yes, it is current status, but in the future it will be also BIM. I think maybe they will invent another name, but it's not. No, it's gonna be always there, I think.
Yeah, and honestly, it still boils down to putting material together for humans to inhabit and help society. So the intent of architecture is the same. How it embodies culture is changing all the time, but the process by which we arrive at that's completely changing.
Yes, right. But a lot of companies also still who early stage of implementation time, we need so much effort for the training, software,
That's why I'm
IT.
here.
Yeah, IT
Reduce
setting.
that learning curve.
Exactly. That's why Tim is here. Please, guys, feel free to. I think people can ask you some technical, or.
Oh yeah, honestly, just right now I'm still pretty underwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed with requests and stuff like that, and we can talk MEP and structural at some point, but Revit is getting better to be fully integrated and downstream for the build fabrication process. Their focus right now isn't actually architecture. And anyway, we can talk more about that later, but like the roadmap for Revit is public.
Yeah.
And you can see what they're focusing on, and it's tightening up how to integrate the MEP layers. So
although for me, I'm not big fan of Revit though, but I like it, but I hate it at the same time.
It is a love-hate relationship. I think the only thing they have against Rhino is parametric. Like Rhino might catch up, improving its blocks and user text attributes, but Sync to Central and that whole borrowing system is pretty robust.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's intuitive some point. It seems like everyone is BIM manager these days, and we in Europe, in general, even bigger or small architecture office, there is no technical manager, or they don't even have CAD manager in general.
Sure.
They don't have such a big hierarchy in general. But every office, when you go these days, they have all BIM manager somehow. Um,
Sure.
but how important this BIM manager's role in reality? Do you feel somehow the whole project team really respect them, or is it just some kind of placeholder? Somebody should be there that they named any project manager to be BIM manager. How important?
Yeah, it's a good question. The industry is trying to catch up with what's going on with design technology, and the first thing we came across was BIM, BIM Manager. I think the reputation has been, keeping the model clean,
Hmm.
and they're like the only person who had the aptitude to kind of sort through all the data and make it clean. So then it became a bit of a digital janitor.
Hmm.
And it's unfortunate because it's not the purpose. Like someone with high aptitude is suddenly put in this maintenance role.
Hmm.
And really the value proposition is like the firm I'm at now, it's design technology. And
Hmm.
that's the new language where it's not just cleaning up after people's messes, it's
Hmm.
being a strategic partner with how you can innovate and
Hmm.
leverage technology to
Hmm.
differentiate yourself in the market.
Hmm.
And BIM is one part of what's available to us in that
Hmm.
space. And so I think manager too, it's like it's really bringing together all the resources.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think for my part, like I focus on teaching and
Hmm.
helping people really elevate their skill, but to
Hmm.
assume you have to do all the work yourself is a mistake. And so I think it's like it's a really important role because it connects the dots between the leadership and the vision to whoever is actually hands-on doing the work,
Hmm.
and how is the best way to do that, you
Hmm.
know? And so I think it's really a critical role because as until everyone has a core competency in BIM,
Hmm.
you're going to continue to need someone facilitating that transition
Right.
and taking on the most difficult tasks and then teaching people how to do simpler tasks as they learn.
Hmm.
So that's really the role of the design technology manager.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it covers a lot of ground, and I feel like we're like when I say we, I'm talking about like my current firm, but like we're making space for that to be its own studio where
Hmm.
people that's like their full-time
Hmm.
thing,
Hmm.
and they can do a career path in design technology. So it's not going away for
Hmm.
sure.
It's very important role indeed because if you hire like external BIM consulting office, there's higher risk maybe they could be corrupted and the corruption gonna affect impact or effect on a whole company that is
It's
even
huge.
it's even dangerous in terms of I don't know content creation or
Hmm.
library preparation or trainings. They can corrupt completely the whole structure of the office. So that's why it's very
Yeah.
important like a role like you or being manager or technical manager within the organization to give proper training and proper education or evaluation of the
Yeah.
company is very good role. I think it's important. Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Honestly, it's yeah, we there's so much to talk about that. That's literally why I'm in the role I'm in now,
Hmm.
and also it's a passion of mine, and I'm just trying to help the conversation kind of
Hmm.
as much as possible.
Yeah, sure. It's a short interview. I'm sure we can continue
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah. I know, I
conversation
know.
later.
We're expanding on a lot of things. Yep,
But we
for sure.
can
We can do follow-ups.
no, we sure we can continue some more future catch up for sure. But my next question is,
Mhm.
so after the all talking about this, who do you think is let's say perfect person to be a BIM manager or technical manager? Maybe let's narrow it down to BIM manager in practice. Who would be the eligible for BIM manager? Do you think someone who doesn't know much about deep knowledge about software, but they have really good knowledge about whole process of building planning or planning process, or the somebody knows a couple of years of planning process, but they have really deep knowledge about BIM authoring softwares and technological part.
Yeah,
Which
honestly, it's it's hard to say yes because it's like it's yes in both cases. I think there's no one way to that role. I would say, you know, it's if you have a passion for it and you see the value, and if you can help set the expectation for your firm that you're a strategic partner, for design technology, then that's going to help you, because I think what ends up happening is someone is there's no Revit. Someone who learned Revit in school comes in, they know it pretty well. They've got an aptitude for it. Okay, you're the BIM manager now. And what does that actually equate to? It's like, okay, you get to define our view templates and our line styles and our content library, and they overload the work without understanding what they're asking. And so there's like a really important expectation management around what is the manager and what is the roles and responsibilities. And I think you need to be in a position, it's someone who wants to guide the firm into leveraging BIM and all the BIM uses, rather than just doing like the heavy lifting of tasks and stuff like that, because the expectation is we're all practicing in BIM. And you know, how you grow in that is really the key. So I would say, you know, it's really who has the curiosity to be that strategic partner for technology. And I would say people who have, you know, 5 to 8 years of experience are probably preferred, because they have hopefully at that point project experience. They've gotten into the details of being a job captain or coordinator, so they know, and then they can speak generic enough or strategic enough to help facilitate between leadership. So I would say don't come in and tout yourself as a BIM manager, even if you're good at Revit. Like, it's not just being able to push all the buttons.
That's totally right. So, I mean, a lot of companies should be careful about it's not only one person can be
No.
a role of BIM manager. It should be balanced. So they should, it depends on the size of organization. They should consider more BIM managers to balance both sides of world, I think.
Yeah, and just to give some context, I mean, like an airport that might have like an entire team of people, like 15, 20 people, and you have like a dedicated BIM manager for that whole group, you know? So it could be like a 1 to 10, 1 to 20 ratio, depending on the scale of the project, the fee of the project, all that kind of stuff. If it's like an office of 20 and you're doing, you know, because like that is, the files are so big, you have to have really good practices, but you can get away with messier models in smaller footprints. So if you have a smaller project, you know, it's less difficult. It's more difficult, or it's less difficult to. It's easier to get away with stuff when it's
Yeah.
smaller. Let's just
Yeah.
put it that way.
Sure. Yeah, it's I think it's very controversial tema also. But do you think then somehow, because you have lots of teaching experience and maybe you have seen many students as well, do you think students of our building industry, including facility management side or real estate domain, do you think should they learn about BIM at least theory at university?
I think you need to get hands-on with BIM authoring tools. You know, you don't need to be an expert when you come out of school, but you need to be able to jump into a project and contribute. And so that's where we see a huge gap right now.
Yep.
And we have to start training people. And it's like, we're frustrated. We actually won't hire people because they don't have BIM authoring tool skills. Like we're recommending people who have the skills, you know, as the primary candidates. Not just like, we want design thinking, of course, we want design theory, of course, but it's like, if you have the ability to author in Revit, like, we're going to prefer you as a candidate. And so it's super important. And what I'm trying to help the language around, to what level do you need to be learning it, and how do you focus, like, okay, learn it in this way and don't worry as much about these details, because it is a big environment to kind of get mastery around. So just generally speaking, modeling and documentation and understanding the core, you know, parameters and values and stuff like that. Like, that's going to be where it's worth spending your time.
So it's essential at university academic level. Hopefully
Yep.
they have enough capacity for teaching, I mean
I mean,
lecturers.
I learned Revit before Rhino.
Oh, really?
Like I waited to learn Rhino until my thesis year, and that
Mm-hmm.
was because I was designing our concert hall, and I did a core and shell design
Mm-hmm.
in Rhino, and then I merged my floor plan with Revit.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually avoiding Rhino, believe it or
Mm-hmm.
not,
Oh, wow.
until like I was trying Dynamo and Revit, and I was like not going to touch Rhino, and now I do both fluently.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I would start. You definitely have to know
Yeah,
BIM.
that's definitely the Rhino, and it's now they are even inside. I mean, Rhino is even inside, so it has more opportunity for you as
Don't
well.
confuse people. But it's true. Yeah, it's like if you know the core, then you can start to integrate them. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. I think it's my final question.
Okay.
I'm running something every day, and especially I'm interested in programming and game development these days, and lots of visual skills to improve. What would
Hmm.
you think? Would you like to? Do you have something to learn when you have you have private time, or I don't know, you have something to wish to learn?
Um, Honestly, I'm learning how to not be in architecture. No, I'm learning how to, you make the most of your time and build
Yeah.
out like a normal life and stuff like that. That was actually my passion for getting in. It was a huge value proposition of getting into technology was saving time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and leaving at a reasonable hour. And so to be honest with you, I'm learning how to surf and in San Diego, and I love flying drone, and
Wow.
that's actually like a hobby, but it serves a lot of purposes. And I've been riding electric unicycle or one wheel for a long time too.
Wow.
So I love that as a hobby. So right now I'm just kind of enjoying life. But yeah, there's always something I'm learning. Like I'm learning a ton of like storytelling, uh, brand, how to just business soft skills is
Hmm.
really what I'm focusing my energies on right now. It used to be highly technical, highly like in the engine room,
Hmm.
and now it's more just how to be intentional
Hmm.
and connect with people.
Hmm.
And it's weird because it's like connecting through a camera lens, but I'm like working on that more now.
That's
So
great. I also think that somehow some period of time after graduate from architecture school or engineering school, it would
mhm.
be also nice to work or learn something completely different domain, like I don't know,
Yeah.
graphic design, or I don't know, fashion design or jewelry design, or maybe even business administration. I don't know.
Yeah,
It.
I got so much value out of that, like
Mhm.
just being in San Francisco
Mhm.
and being exposed to like I got really exposed to, like mixed reality,
Mhm.
fintech, like just game design, like you mentioned, they'd have these big game conferences that would show up, and
Mhm.
you're just going to lunch and you bump shoulders with all these people and you
Yeah.
start up a conversation.
Mhm.
So the more you can expose yourself to different ideas, the more you're going to be able to help bring it into the industry. I think it's
Exactly.
just kind of remembering like why you're passionate about this industry,
Mhm.
and it's a great industry to be a part of,
Mhm.
and just like learning how to glean from these other, because like there's so many ways to get inspired because they're doing a lot of exciting work.
Exactly. It's just doing only one thing, the same thing on the table is not anymore in these days, I think. All right. Thank you very much for today's interview. And
Of course.
guys, please check it out his YouTube or website one more time. And we are looking forward to seeing more stuff from you, of course. I know it's
Yeah,
like
and honestly, like get hooked up with a free account on the BIM Academy. I've been structuring the content, so YouTube can kind of be a little messy, but I'm
Mhm.
trying to like organize it into these little series. So definitely get a free account hooked up later, and then just keep a lookout for when course content drops. And
Mhm.
yeah, I look forward to learning with you guys.
That's
So
great. Thanks for your time for today, and hopefully, when this pandemic is over, we have chance to meet in event somewhere or.
yeah, I would love it. I want things to get back to normal. It's weird, like digital formats, but we can bump shoulders at a conference or something.
Exactly. All right. Thank you very much. Then have a nice over there is now starting a day, I think.
Just starting the day. I know, but we got the day off, so it's gonna be a good time. So,
Okay. Have a nice day, team. Thank you very much.
all right. Thanks, Jungwoo.
Bye bye.